Yes, our children, drink deep and feel the searing embrace of the first one. Now it is time for you to acquire what you came for.
The burning in your veins is but a moment of discomfort in your transition to the great beyond. Now we welcome you to your eternity. Drink deeply, have faith, and join us in this sermon.
Welcome back to Koolaid Stand. I'm Steven.
I'm Jet.
And I'm Dylan.
And this week, I just have one question for you, gentlemen. You want to do some crack?
Yeah, man, sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
I don't see why
we were
not.
taught.
I mean, no.
We were taught
No.
we were taught to say no to that question. That would be an example of peer pressure. Well, or maybe everyone cool does crack.
Yeah. I think they do, right?
Every cool person I know does crack, yeah. This week, we're talking about D.A.R.E and drugs and mostly tobacco, and we've got Dylan here who has done crack. So Dylan's a longtime friend of ours, grew up in the same school system as us, and has plenty of insight on being addicted to nicotine specifically. I think we were told peer pressure was going to be a certain thing growing up, and have you guys experienced peer pressure in real life? I've had it once. I think it doesn't go down like that.
No?
No,
Not with drugs.
with doing stupid shit, sure.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Jumping off a statue. Yes. Drugs.
I was at a small barbecue once, and someone that was at that like offered me what was it? I think it's not dextroamphetamine, the other kind that like you can do in an addictive sense that people do like as a party drug sometimes.
I wouldn't
Shit,
know.
not Ritalin. It's not Ritalin, it's
Xanax?
the other one. No, these are uppers. It's an amphetamine. Oh my god. Well, whatever. It's a prescription medication for ADHD. And editing Steven here, the lobotomite means Adderall. And he handed me a pill. I was like, what is this? And he's like, it's this. And I was like, dog, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm prescribed this medication. This would be wasted on me.
I already got some.
And he was like, okay. And he just took it back. It was an excellent deflection. I was not trying to do an upper at like 9 p.m.
My experiences have been similar. I've been offered drugs plenty of times, and then I say no, and then people generally seem pretty happy to hold on to their drugs, you know?
Yep. They paid good money for those, so
Exactly.
they don't have to share them. Yeah, you're not. It's crazy that look, the just say no policies and stuff that we were taught growing up is just like you're meant to think that like they're like trying to get you to do these drugs. Like they want you to do them, and it's like usually people when they are offering you drugs, they're offering you an experience to join in taking drugs with them. And in general, don't really mind when you say no. Like there's no social issue when you like decline doing drugs you don't want to do.
Yeah, I've never actually felt pressured or even felt like somebody was intending to pressure me when I've been offered something. Like you said, it's just they're kind of just trying to involve you in what they're doing.
Yeah, which is very nice. It's just not for me.
It feels like they're more offering you a snack than something nefarious.
A snack for the brain.
Yeah, here's some chips. Here's some
We were
liver.
born in the early. Here's some Ritalin. Hey, a little bit of heroin. Want some? It's right next to the guac. We were born in the early aughts, or at least the very, very end of '99. So the format for drug use prevention in schools existed in a weird space. Before I can get into this, I have to start with where our anti-drug education evolved from, which would most certainly be D.A.R.E. And of course, before I can talk about D.A.R.E, I need to talk about why we even came up with D.A.R.E. And this all starts with the president least likely to be a crook, Richard Nixon.
He won that superlative in high school, is what I understand.
And then he went right to presidency. I have this problem when I do research episodes where I'm like, I need to go back. I need to go back. So it's like, we'll start with fire, and we'll get to anti-drugs classes. In honestly, I'm gonna go further back before Richard Nixon. We're going to the 50s.
Oh,
So
all right.
psychiatric experimentation in the 50s was a wild west. But one of the strategies at the time was taking a specific medication to, quote, induce a temporary state of mental illness. This relatively unregulated medicine would eventually be discovered to be relatively inconsistent in reducing states of paranoid delirium and often creating carefree, worryless states of euphoria, which would encourage a few researchers to start attempting to use it in clinical trials by the late 50s to attempt to cure alcoholism and ease the mental illnesses they were attempting to temporarily replicate for their studies. This drug would be called lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD.
Oh, I know
and
that
would then
one.
and then would go on to become one of the most popular drugs to enjoy with your friends, specifically pioneered by the youth counterculture movement well into the 60s. I want to note that at the time it was being used this way, college age, like research students were like getting grants to do acid for research purposes. we all know this is 100% them just doing acid together.
Yeah. They got paid for it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was born in the wrong time. Not really, but damn.
I like my brain unmicrowaved. I think a
I
little bit
was
of
doing
microwaving
it-
could help.
I was doing
Yeah.
it for free.
We're in real life? Oh yeah, I guess did you never pay for it?
No,
You've done it before, right?
I have. But not to sidetrack too much. That's a different podcast episode.
But yeah, we could do. Well, yeah, we did a whole episode on psychedelics. At the peak of its free usage in 1968, Richard Nixon was also elected into office, and for no particular reason, definitely not because this drug and others were used by his common and youthfully motivated opposition who wanted to end the war in Vietnam, which he was actively attempting to prolong.
Don't get
Nixon
me
would
started, bro.
Don't get me started on that shit. Nixon would declare a, quote, war on drugs, which ultimately we all know drugs would win. In 1971, which would ultimately be one of the worst policy productions of our modern history.
Yep.
I also just don't have
Disagree.
time. I don't have time right now to discuss how the civil rights movement just ended in success in 1968. And now racial minorities had the express right to vote and be treated like people. And of course, afterwards, the president declares that what was essentially martial law against individuals who partake in drugs that were mostly uncriminalized at the time, to then be automatically treated as felons without discussion and minimum sentencing. The only class of people in this country left who do not get the right to vote or have firearms or anything like that are felons. That's a whole other episode, though. Don't have time for that.
That shit was malicious. I think that's the
Yeah.
important point
Uh-huh.
to make.
And absolutely racially motivated.
Yes. And if not just racially motivated, at least like prospectively motivated, right? In the same way that we see like states revoking licenses for trans people. Like this is a targeted campaign to remove voting rights from people that they know would vote against them. But I don't have time for that.
Keep it moving.
The important connection here is that Ronald Reagan would then win the vote for president in 1980, and one of his major campaign platforms was to reinforce and support the war on drugs and let black people die to AIDS, which he
Die
would
to
be
it.
around 1982. His wife would also press hard to support this new front of the war on drugs by traveling to hundreds of schools, both in the US and internationally, to warn children about the dangers of drugs and to, quote, just say no.
We don't have time for that, though. Don't get
No,
me
that's what-
started.
I mean, we're talking about that now. But I don't have time to talk about how Ronald Reagan allowed the AIDS epidemic to specifically destroy the homosexual congregations of people in cities and whatever. Don't have time for that. In 1983, the LAPD would launch the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, or D.A.R.E, which was a 17-week-long program where a police officer would be given a 45-minute to like 1 hour block to provide training to students in 5th grade all the way through 9th grade, but also suggested that teachers like work this into their normal curriculum as it stood. just for standard education purposes. In general, the goal was to teach children of the negative effects of drugs, improve their self-esteem, and to increase their overall personal assertiveness in general, as well as in resisting drug offers by peers and others. I think we've all heard of D.A.R.E. I've never experienced D.A.R.E. What I think is really interesting, I don't know why I said it with an F instead of a TH, is more often than not, I see D.A.R.E. being used as a form of counterculture by like artists, especially in the greater Seattle area where we're all from.
Nowadays, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you see people wearing D.A.R.E. shirts and like smoke weed and going into raves and stuff, and I think that's pretty fucking cool. But
I have a D.A.R.E. shirt that I have turned into a cutoff tank top. So it definitely is more of a fashion statement than a warning.
Exactly. Like when I think of someone wearing a D.A.R.E. shirt, I'm like, oh, they're wearing a D.A.R.E. shirt. They're not like supporting the message of D.A.R.E. or the long history of it.
Wearing it very ironically.
Yes. Jed, I'm just gonna let you have this part because I don't really know much about this.
Oh, yeah, okay. I added a note to Steven's script because he had me proofread it this week. Something I want to note about D.A.R.E. is that curtailing teen drug use was not necessarily the LAPD's main goal with starting D.A.R.E. The fact that the police started it should kind of be a hint there, right?
Yeah.
Part of it was that they also wanted to extend the reach of the police into schools, particularly in low-income areas that were already being targeted by the war on drugs, like you mentioned a few minutes ago. And there's this guy from the LAPD named Daryl Gates, who's like an all-time fucker. I don't know a ton about him, but he started D.A.R.E. and invented SWAT teams, and he was like one of the main guys who spearheaded police militarization in the U.S.
Oh, which also makes a lot of sense because at the time I think there was a couple really large heists that resulted in a lot of police casualties in the early 80s.
Yeah, there was a shootout over a bank heist where the robbers had like taken painkillers and were wearing body armor and had automatic weapons, and at that time the police didn't wear body armor and they all just carried revolvers.
Yeah. They definitely leveraged that to press into militarization. And yeah, it is a good point to mention that D.A.R.E. is a police thing. On top of that, at the time, D.A.R.E. was like federally supported. They there was money reserved for a portion of the war on drugs based on like education and local support in states. And they had like a default, like couple tens of millions of dollars, like cut off into that budget specifically reserved for D.A.R.E. per state. So like it was a pretty large thing, and a lot of even Republican senators were like, dude, we don't want to do this. We're going to give carte blanche like financial access to like a program for education that we don't even know works right now. Like that's crazy. It also just didn't work. And a lot of research was just made up to make it seem like it did work. Yeah, it's not a great program. There's a reason it's not around today. Ultimately, the majority of studies relating to D.A.R.E. demonstrate the program either did nothing, like I said, or made the drug crisis worse. And I need to point out that despite a funded program being required in schools with the goal of reducing violence, vandalism, and drug use, the children who grew up on D.A.R.E. would ultimately join the opiate epidemic. School shootings have significantly increased without an end in sight, and also D.A.R.E. isn't around anymore, so it must have not been that effective.
I just keep wanting to say "don't get me started" over and over.
I don't have time for that. I also don't have time to mention that only 2 years after D.A.R.E. was launched to, quote, reduce drug use, crack cocaine would enter the streets and launch a drug epidemic in most minority communities that would ravage them for the next, 15 years.
Don't get me started on that.
I can't get you started, and you guys definitely can't let me get started on explaining how the government was also buying literal tons of cocaine from the Nicaraguan Contras during a second resurgence of the war on drugs. And do not, especially this, don't let me get you started on this. I just don't have time on what we did with that coke, which definitely we didn't increase its volume and efficacy as a drug and then insert that into urban populations by sponsoring local dealers to sell crack. Because, like I said, I don't have time for this. I can't talk about it.
Yeah, they were not dumping drugs into the streets in low income areas and then sending armed cops into the schools to tell the kids to say no to the drugs that they were putting there. That did not happen.
It's like a commercialization campaign. Like, there's this really awesome stuff. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
But
It's really cool. One thing I need to point out is that D.A.R.E was mainly about controlled substances. The goal was for D.A.R.E to get kids to not participate in hard drugs like cocaine, heroin, LSD, weed, very hard stuff, stuff like that. I've spoken to people who grew up with D.A.R.E, like my dad and some other people of his age, and when I asked if they took time to explain the dangers of smoking cigarettes or tobacco usage, they specifically remembered that it was never mentioned, even though 30 years prior in 1953, smoking had been linked to a dramatic increase in lung cancer. And that's what the episode actually is about, talking about nicotine. I got there eventually.
Well, the government doesn't care about nicotine.
no.
And the government consistently doesn't give a shit about nicotine. And I think, not even I think, we know that the nicotine big tobacco companies have mobilized so much money to continue to make sure the government does not care about it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Something I need to take a second to point out about this is that despite the scientific evidence from 30 years ago, all but proving smoking is a lethal habit, people were still smoking indoors at this time in the early 80s. The predominant reason for this is the mobilization of the corporate behemoths we would call today big tobacco, and their continued counterintelligence and plain manipulation of the general public to keep smoking in the hands of consumers without worry. As soon as that research about smoking and cancer came out, tobacco companies decided that directly claiming ignorance in a modern scientific renaissance was going to make them look foolish, naive, and ultimately make them look worse. So the next best bet for them was to fund their own science to breed skepticism and maintain the narrative that, quote, we just don't have all the facts, but we'll know as soon as possible, which resulted in an essentially endless cavalcade of bullshit corpo-backed studies to increase the noise and make it less easy to see the plain truth. That smoking will fucking kill you. This isn't critical to my narrative yet, but we'll get there. And by that I mean like science being made up to keep people smoking in general, and how tobacco companies interfere with our knowledge of things. People even knew at the time that was like that this was going on, but it didn't matter because before all this, tobacco companies made it a point to basically like demonstrate to you that it was the cool thing to do is smoke. They made smoking a part of just society. Like you just had to smoke. They in like before. Like in the late 20s, they were even saying like you could lose weight smoking cigarettes, and it's like yeah, sure, I guess.
And they would put the trading cards in there to like make it appeal to younger people.
All right,
some
made it
underage
sexy,
smoking
too.
going on.
They
They
made it sexy. Like this is you're gonna think I'm joking, but the Marlboro Man, Dick Hammer, the original Marlboro Man, he's hot.
He is.
They made it very attractive to smoke. They said that you are going to look like Dick Hammer when you smoke. And you want to look like Dick Hammer.
And you want to look like I'll put a picture of him up. Another thing is like dude, nothing gets me harder than a 1920s French lady with a long filter with a cigarette at the end. That shit goes hard.
They had cigarette girls too, like they had at like casinos and shit. It's not really a thing anymore, but you know, scantily clad women wandering around trying to sell or just give you cigarettes.
My dad was telling me about Camel Cash. You guys know about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could like buy cigarettes and then you could use like cigarette box tops to get like sick ass leather jackets and shit.
I want one.
Dude, I know. I saw a poster of like this old like 1950s era like camel what's the word I'm looking for? Like camel advertisement where it's like two camels, like anthropomorphic camels. I guess they got into the furry market, and they put leather jackets on them and like cigarettes, and they were like, yeah, like with like big sunglasses. It looked cool as fuck. I want to be one of those camels. You know what I mean? It still works.
Yeah, like no wonder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say for certain if their disgusting cancerous roots made it all the way into D.A.R.E education material, or if they just generally weren't concerned with a program that was clearly focusing on scheduled substances, of which tobacco was not, a grace that tobacco industries still to this day enjoy. Regardless, tobacco consumption wouldn't really be part of D.A.R.E, which would ultimately be labeled as ineffective by the Surgeon General by 2001 and eventually lose its broader appeal as a program. It did rebrand, but essentially lost all of its viability. Some of the core tenets of D.A.R.E did remain, though, as vestiges up where we all grew up in the greater Seattle area, but our drug education wasn't part of the prior standardized drug education programs of old.
No.
I don't really remember drug education in 5th grade personally, even though it's like noted to be one of the moments that you need to start stepping in and telling children about it. We did have what we all refer to as the class, which was sex ed at the like one day and like towards the end of 5th grade. I missed this because I hit my head on the playground. Did you guys have drug education in your elementary schools? I don't remember if you guys went to elementary school together.
Dylan?
I did not, to my knowledge. I just remember a lot of. The only thing I remember from that sex ed possibly was something about AIDS and how it compromises your immune system. But no drug use at that time.
For me,
education.
And for me, we did not have drug education, but we did have tobacco use education. And I went to a bunch of different elementary schools. At that time, my family was moving around a lot, but the one I ended up at in 5th grade, we had. I know you're gonna bring it up, but we had the organ lady in elementary school, and she would come in and they would take us to the library, and it was all focused on cigarette smoking, a little bit on weed smoking too, but it was all smoking. And I remember they would make us do this thing where we would have like a straw, and you would have to plug your nose and try to breathe through a straw for like 2 minutes or something like that. And they're like, this is what breathing is like for a smoker.
Huh.
And they would do the thing with the gloves too, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, I didn't have anything like that. That's I think I know what elementary school you went to, which does kind of make sense, I guess. I went to the one on the other side of the main avenue, up where I live, and where I lived growing up. A little bit of a prissier school, not private, but yeah, they I think they're too scared to do something like that with us, honestly. But definitely starting in 6th grade, we started to talk about drugs and their possible effects, but not hard ones so much. Interestingly enough, we really wouldn't have the hard substance conversation until like 9th grade, where we grew up. It was mostly cigarettes, weed, and energy drinks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'd have the organ lady come through, and they'd pack us all in the gym once a year, where she'd give a presentation to the school about the effects on your body of weed, nicotine, and energy drinks, and would show you real human wet specimens right there. You guys, I'm assuming you guys remember this, right?
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you guys like the organ lady?
Loved her.
Okay.
She was kind and let me touch the brain.
Cool.
Do I remember much of what she said? No, but it was a great experience because of the brain touching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which most certainly is affected long term by smoking.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I obviously remember the lungs, where they showed you a smoker lung and a non-smoker lung, and like, I think in my class, they had like 5 or 6 different pairs of lungs through various stages of smoking. Yeah. So, like healthy lungs, like pink, fleshy, and then supple his weird way to describe that.
Shut the fuck up.
You're way too into the organs, man.
But as you went down the line of longer and longer amount of time smoking, they became
Less
gray, cold, hard, and literally full of holes.
Yeah.
So,
Jet, you have similarly interesting memories about the orchid lady and her supple lungs.
Yeah, I also liked her because of the getting brain part. I did like the organ lady because I thought the organs were cool, and it was sort of like a novel experience that took you out of your normal class day. That was why I liked the organ lady. I don't think I really recognized the dislikable scare tactics that were going on in those classes until later on, because I was a young and impressionable child, as everybody else was.
And I wanted to be out of class and look at guts.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I remember, I think it was in middle school, because I'm pretty sure you were there, Stephen, when they had us put on the latex gloves. This was a thing that they used to do in these classes. They would have the kids put on latex gloves, and they would have you wait a few minutes, and if your sweat kind of yellowed the inside of the gloves, they would say that basically your body was already compromised by smoke, whether that be because you were smoking or because you were around secondhand smoke. And at this time in my life, I had never inhaled smoke for other than a campfire or some shit, right? And neither of my parents have ever been smokers. Nobody in my house ever smoked.
Yeah.
And that was when I was kind of like, oh, some of this is bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's actually what did it for me. It was just like a step too far. There's another thing that I found pretty interesting, but yeah, I think this program was rife with its own issues in general. Even as a kid, a lot of her statements seemed cherry picked, like Jet was saying, maybe overstated. There was a level of disconnection between what I understood to be true and what she was trying to tell me, and in a level that rises suspicion. Not I'm learning new information, it's I have information that I understand to be the case, both through observance and through research, even as a 7th grader, and she's trying to tell me something else that just doesn't line up.
Yeah.
For example, she would state that weed would just obliterate your fucking lungs, like the exact same way as nicotine did. And that just never added up to me. Like, look, I know smoking and inhaling is not good for you and it will fill your lungs with resin and tar, but just flower and then smoking like a pack a fucking day is not going to get your lungs to the same point. It's just not possible. She would hold up like 2 exact looking pairs of lungs, unsupple, unfortunately, and would say one was from a chronic chain smoker smoking like a pack a day, and the other was from a regular weed smoker. Just by volume, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty interested in shaming weed use I mean, I know they were there to say don't smoke cigarettes too, but they were much more interested in shaming weed smoking than cigarette smoking.
Yeah. I have here to ask about if anyone remembers the glove bullshit. Dylan, do you remember that? The glove thing?
Yes. I didn't have really any effect on me because none of my parents smoke. I had the clear sweat. So I don't know. I'm a sucker for propaganda. So everything she said probably worked on me at one point.
The pretty brain lady.
Yeah.
I knew that this was BS the second round I was introduced to it. Basically they were saying that you had been compromised, like Jet said. This is just a lie. The natural oils of your body are going to stain gloves regardless, especially if you wear pure, pristine white. I should have said pure white. Gloves that were, especially latex ones that just stain really easily. Not good to try and lie to kids, honestly. There was also a whole third of the presentation dedicated to energy drinks. Do you guys remember this?
Yes. Yeah.
Super weird thing to add into the mix. And to this day, I don't know why that
I don't
was
get it.
given like an equal amount of concern as
Smoking?
smoking in general.
Yeah.
I don't even remember it being about the amount of caffeine that was in them. I remember it being about the amount of sugar that was in the
Oh,
energy drinks.
there's that too. She'd talk forever about energy drinks. And especially, she would always tell this story about these two girls that drank like two monsters together. And one of them died on Christmas morning or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
This did happen. Go ahead, Dylan.
So I going back to something that you were saying earlier, where it didn't, you never really fell for it. The energy drink one, I never really fell for,
Right.
because she had like the huge can of Monster up there.
Yeah, that no one drinks.
That no one drinks, and she said, "Oh, this has like this much sugar in it, compared to this small regular sized can of Coke that you could drink that has only this much sugar in it." And it was just the fact that she was comparing the like 40 ounces of Monster energy drink to 12 ounces of a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
It just, that didn't add up to me.
This child's death did happen.
Oh, okay.
But she had an underlying vascular condition, and nothing's changed about the drinks other than having 18 plus labels put on them since. And people aren't dying left and right to drinking energy drinks.
Listen, I would have understood if it was about like Four Locos back when they had a fuck ton of caffeine in them or something like that.
Yeah.
You do not want to be teaching me about Four Locos in middle school.
It was always the same story about this whole like Christmas Eve, Christmas morning Monster energy drink death thing. So for me, I like never looked it up or anything back when we were having these classes, but I didn't believe it because regardless of which facilitator came in to do these classes, they always told the exact same story, and it was the only example they had.
Yeah. And we're like 11 and 12 at this point. And I think I this highlights what I'm about to say is kids are sharper than you think.
Oh yeah.
And for a school that regularly treated us like little fucking criminals just itching to trick people and break rules, they sat us all there and honestly undermined their entire argument by exaggeration. Kids pick up on this shit, man. Especially at an age where they are beginning to question the assumed authority of adults around them based purely on social hierarchy. Last I checked, our childhood school district no longer employs the services of the organ lady, and I honestly think that that's okay.
It's better.
Yeah. I think most of the anti-nicotine education I received was from adults around me, honestly, otherwise telling me how absolutely and unequivocally lethal cigarettes are. That and just watching relatives die or being aware of the wake of those deaths from cigarettes. Did you guys have any experiences like this?
I never met my grandfather because he smoked a lot on my mom's side. And so that was something that was really drilled into me.
Yeah.
My grandfather and all 6 of his brothers died very young because of smoking related heart issues.
Everyone take note of this information being drilled into Dylan.
From a very young age.
So
that was
when you have a relative that dies of smoking, your family stops at nothing to be like, the reason you don't get to know this amazing person is because they smoked and I'm mad at them. And it's like, okay, all right, I will not smoke. Got it.
Especially when all 7 of them died.
That is crazy. A whole bloodline wiped out by big tobacco. Jet?
Man, my family doesn't really have any smokers.
Jet's on the deathless run right now.
Yeah. I had to say this during our death episode too. But yeah, anyway, my family doesn't really have any smokers. Back to my grandparents on each side, I don't really know anybody older than that because they were just dead or not around by the time that I have memories of my childhood. but I think that also was sort of a deterrent in a way because I would be like the black sheep, and my family definitely would have shamed me if I was the only one in 2 generations who picked up smoking.
Mm. I grew up with 3 people still smoking. And all of them were very careful to explain to me that they were ashamed of their habit and that I should never touch cigarettes. Fortunately, all of them have stopped, but I called my grandmother and asked her why she smoked and what her life has been like since she stopped. I think she said some really interesting stuff. Also, I got to talk to my grandma. So,
Nice.
uh, it was the cool thing to do is what she told me, and once you started, it just felt impossible to stop. In the height of her addiction, over 45 years of smoking, she would smoke half a pack a day. Unlike my grandfather, who would smoke 2 whole packs daily.
How do you even do that? I've never understood how people could physically handle that.
You just
I
got one
I,
in your mouth all day,
I
no
was
matter what you're
dumbfounded.
doing.
I think Dylan's right because I was like asking them. I was like, guys, what are you telling me? Because my dad was in the conversation too. It's like, what the fuck? How would he do that? And there's a reason that he shriveled up into a bone creature and died a horrible death.
Oh my
Is when you do this, don't smoke, but also like, no wonder he smoked so fucking much. I heard that sometimes he would smoke. He would just smoke half a cigarette just to smoke it, and then put it in the ashtray, and then pick it up later and smoke the rest. Like he was constantly smoking. And like I said, like we all know what happened to him. I explained it in the death episode,
Yeah.
and just now, she started smoking in 1974, like when she graduated, and told me that they all knew tobacco companies were running counter science to undermine the truth, and they all knew smoking would increase their risk of dying suddenly and horribly. But the social pressure of fitting in made them disregard their health, even at the cost of their joy. She used to hike and spend tons of time outside in the wilderness, but pretty soon after starting smoking, she felt robbed of her breath, and she had no question as to why. But she could not stop.
Addiction.
She is 12. Yeah, and she's 12 years clean now. Good job, Gigi.
God damn. Okay. After
go.
that long, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's really the most powerful thing tobacco has going for it, other than the addiction, is social pressure. Before the reveal of its link to vicious and unstoppable disease, tobacco advertising company emphasized how cool it was to smoke. The most important part about that message was establishing smoking and cigarettes as a social pillar in society. Everyone smoked, and they were the most interesting and mysterious people because of it. In 1954, about 45% of Americans smoked cigarettes.
Damn.
Almost half of all Americans were smoking.
That's a lot.
But that's insane. But by 2015, only 15.1% of adults reported that they smoked cigarettes. The market had been dying for a long time, despite all the work tobacco companies did and the general lack of direct education about tobacco we received. This made tobacco companies try desperately to repackage nicotine into a product that wasn't commonly understood to be death in stick form, something they could claim was healthier for you. In 2004, the Chinese market received e-cigarettes, which were nicotine vaporizers, all the goodness of the cig without the vehemently disgusting chemicals that killed you. A cleaner, nicer hit, they called it a smokeless cigarette, and it utilized an ultrasonic atomizer to turn solution into vapor. They look kind of cool, honestly. They're like small little plastic. They have a little red LED at the end. Like they really simulate it.
Yeah, they looked like cigarettes at first.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Eventually, this tech was adjusted, and tank-based atomizers were becoming more and more popular. There were all kinds of shapes and forms, crazy flavors you could buy and try to fill them up. But the niche nature of this market in general made options few and expensive to get into, so it wasn't entirely popular to build your own custom box mod and vape your lungs away. That is until 2015, when Juul entered the scene.
Woo!
Let's go. For those who don't know somehow, Juul was a reusable and rechargeable battery stick that could be equipped with disposable nicotine pods possessing a wide array of delicious flavors. They were small, discreet, from my understanding, reasonably priced, and cool. Modern age for the modern man.
Badass.
I didn't exactly
badass.
I didn't exactly notice them until around late 2016, apparently along with everyone else because they experienced a gargantuan increase in sales, some say around 700% on the year. And what I'd qualify was almost more important, memes of Juul pods were fucking everywhere. You could not escape hearing about the goddamn cart.
Oh, yeah.
Free advertising.
I could try and find some form of data that shows how many teens were hitting the jewel in the high school bathroom, but the issue with surveys like that are that they depend on teenagers being brave enough to be honest about their usage. Ultimately, the numbers on reporting like this would be hard to pinpoint, if I'm being real with you. But I have something very similar, or a similar quality. 3 men now who lived through this firsthand. Hey, you guys remember Jewel?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
They were everywhere. Everyone had one.
I had one. Though,
Yeah.
to be fair, I also had a one of the big tank ones.
Yeah, you did have an RTA.
I had the mod.
Yeah. No, yeah, sorry. You had a box mod, right?
Yeah, box mod.
Yeah.
I still have it somewhere. I'm not going to pull it out.
I still have it. So he pulls it out of his like back pocket.
Yeah, right here.
I've been hitting this thing for 10 years.
I remember Jewel, like we all do, and I remember fucking kids in the bathrooms hitting Jewel. You couldn't go anywhere without smelling the mango.
Kids in
pod.
classrooms hitting the jewel.
Kids in, what do they call it? Ghost hitting?
Yep.
Like you like tried, or ghosting, like
Well,
you tried to like.
You inhale and then you just hold it first until you are about to pass out, and then you just breathe it out into your sweatshirt.
This is addiction. Most importantly, I remember you and a common friend of ours having them and constantly using them. It never stopped. And I was like, this is going to be a problem for years. Spoiler alert, it would be. But like, yeah, I only ever hit 1 or 2, I think, just to see what the hype was about. It burned and it sucked and it didn't taste very good. So I was like, this is awful. And glad I didn't try it. Jed, did you ever try one?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Weirdly, I don't think that I hit any kind of vape or smoked any cigarette until I had graduated high school and was like off at college. I smoked weed in high school a few times, but I don't think I ever did any nicotine products until I was at college.
I didn't even smoke weed until I graduated. Dylan, what did you do before you graduated?
That's not what we're talking about this podcast.
In general, I think I'm throwing a number out here, boys. Like, you walk into the bathroom, 50% of the time someone was in there hitting the jewel.
Oh yeah,
easily.
At least. Yeah,
it's like you were saying with you can't really find numbers on how many kids were in the bathroom hitting their jewel or like hitting their jewel through their sweatshirt, like Dylan said. It's like asking why there's more gay kids now than there was when they would get beat half to death for admitting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people are not gonna report on themselves in that way, but we were there and this shit was fucking everywhere at school.
Now I'm just imagining like old like gay surveys in, like the 70s where like you'd walk in past a bunch of really mean looking dudes with baseball bats, and then they'd be like, "Are you gay?"
Why?
And the guys would come in and stare at you. And then you'd be like, "No." And then everyone would put their baseball bats away. Like
all right, you're cool.
All right. And from here, after Juul's popular and everyone's addicted to nicotine, vaping just exploded. Both videos of geeks hitting their sick vape tricks and people making fun of those geeks were all the rage. Both positive and negative attention for vaping was constantly center stage. The popularity of vaping as a practice absolutely got so far ahead of anti-tobacco rhetoric that it felt like tobacco companies honestly just managed to win again. And despite all of us knowing absolutely not to touch nicotine, one of those people would be Dylan. Dylan, why did you start hitting the Juul?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
So like, I don't know. I had some of Tyler's friends, my brother. They had a mod. They were sharing it. I hit it. I was like, this is nice. I'm going to do this. And then I got my mod. And then I was like, this is really hard to hide from my parents, from people at school, whatever. And then the Juul, perfect, 3.5 inches long, super thin. You could hide it everywhere.
He remembers its exact dimensions.
Oh, I can picture it. I can spin one 3 dimensions in my brain. I remember the light. It had a profound impact on my life, and not necessarily all for positive, but yeah, I basically did it because I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat, and I didn't really believe that in high school hubris, I didn't believe that I could get addicted to nicotine.
Yeah, because all you have to do is stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All you have to do is stop going to the gas station every other day to get new Juul pods.
How long were you vaping before any of us found out?
It wouldn't have been long. I was not hiding it from anybody but my parents back then. So,
did you like that you were using a Juul?
It felt good in my brain.
Cool? Uh-huh.
To a certain extent, yeah, I think I did like that I was doing it. I thought it made me cool, I guess. And the buzz that it got you made me feel incredible. So I did like that I was using it.
How much did you spend to fuel the Juul?
Nice.
Let's see if I can remember. The little boxes weren't that expensive. I did have a job at the time. I think it couldn't have been more than $10 for one of the little 4-pack of refills.
Damn.
10 to 20. I can't remember.
They got a lot more expensive in the following years, I think.
Yeah, but right at the beginning, they were pretty cheap. But I was probably spending $50-$60 a week.
Whoa, okay.
For a high schooler, that's a significant amount of money.
That's a lot.
Yes. Yep.
And you were paying for that with your job that you had at the time?
Yeah. Yeah. Which,
did you have a plug, or did some place just like not card?
Initially, some places just didn't card, and then I turned 18, and when I started, you could still get nicotine products when you were 18 here in Washington State. And so for about a year and a half, I was 18 living in Washington. So it was just walk in, give them the vertical ID. They gave me the nicotine.
So the limit increase that happened like roughly after we turned 18 or 19 didn't really impact you?
It happened in December, right after I turned 19. So I was in Oregon at the time when it happened. And that was actually the catalyst for the first time that I attempted to quit. Because I just couldn't get them.
So it did actually make them harder to get when that happened for you?
Impossible to get, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not impossible, because I could have asked an older kid to go get them for me, but, they upcharge you, and at that point also, I didn't have a job, so I couldn't really afford it either. It was a confluence of things that made me quit that first time.
Were you worried about the possible like future health problems that well, we didn't exactly know. I don't even think we know all the way yet, like how damaging these are going to be.
Not at the time. No. Now I am. Every November to March, I have a cough and I have phlegm in my throat. So something in the back of my mind tells me that is probably related to the several years that I was inhaling this vaporized nicotine.
I think the next question, like the most important one that's on everybody's mind, is what was the best Juul flavor?
Oh, mint mango.
Oh, damn, that actually does sound really good.
Or no, mint. No, not mint mango.
I know the mango pod is like the coveted one.
Mint cucumber.
refreshing.
cucumber
Am I
lime.
am I
whatever.
remembering correctly that the part of the eventual crackdown on Juul was that they weren't allowed to make any flavored pods except for tobacco and menthol at a certain point?
Yes, that I believe that was their final downfall.
And that's
Um,
interesting because I think it relates to this next point. Is the thing about Juul I don't think is entirely known is very quickly in 2018 the FDA was suspicious as to why Juul was so popular with teens specifically. They began a multi-pronged blitz-like investigation on Juul and found that they were specifically targeting teenagers for their product, and the government launched a slew of restrictions to essentially neuter that product. Ultimately, ending in 2022 when they filed a fucking marketing denial order, essentially that bans the product outright from sale in the U.S. That order was stayed, of course, but like we were just saying, Juul is a husk of its former self.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Um,
There's still basically copycat products that
mm,
you can find at any gas station, but actual jewels seem less common than those at that point. I haven't been
yeah,
shopping for a jewel in years at this point, but
you can
they
still
were harder
find
to.
them, but
Yeah.
isn't the Geek Bar the thing now?
yeah, and that's basically just a jewel, but you throw it away.
Disposable. It's gonna be so bad for the environment.
The companies who
But
make those disposables just like come in, get super popular, and get banned or like neutered in
Mhm.
the same way so quickly. It's really funny. Like
But they
it's like
make
every few
a
months there's a
ton.
new brand.
Yeah, but they make a ton of money before they get shut down.
I I think the important detail that's passing through to right now we're talking about is as the damage was done. Like a
Mm.
whole new generation of young adults was hooked on nicotine. Again, this time through a new form factor that ultimately is just as damaging as the previous. Dylan, you kept vaping after high school. How did the frequency change? Like, did you end up
Um,
vaping even more?
well, for a while in college, I did. There was about a year where I did end up not um, vaping anymore, and then um, I found a jewel on the ground, and then we were back down. We were back
Damn,
down the rabbit hole.
that is
Um,
brutal.
literally, I found it. It had half a tank in it. I was like, oh, for old time's sake.
For
Tap.
oh,
And then right back down the rabbit hole for
that's fucked.
probably 3-4 years after that.
And whoever left that jewel, it's their fault actually. So
Oh
Yeah,
for
no
sure.
no personal responsibility at all.
unfortunately, nicotine is nicotine.
Yep,
So,
yep.
but when Juuls got restricted and vapes fell out of the mainstream focus, more people were resorting to all forms of nicotine, chew, and eventually Zyn, but also including cigarettes again. And as I think I've kind of highlighted, it's social circumstances that encourage smoking, and Jet wasn't impervious to that pressure. Jet, when did you start smoking?
Um, I think I started using nicotine with some kind of regularity, like the year after I graduated college, which would have been like 2021 or 2022. And I lived in like a college house with a bunch of people who all vaped constantly, and I was a line cook, and everybody that I worked with like vaped in the walk-in and or smoked cigarettes outside
Classic.
every 2 seconds.
Mhm. And that's why you started because of the social circumstances, right?
Yeah, I think it was just always around me and available at that point. So there was a stretch of time where I resisted, but eventually I just kind of really wasn't worried about the consequences. And all it takes is like one day where you get home from work and you're extra stressed out and one of your five roommates with a disposable vape is like, take a hit, bro. And then you do it one time, and that's like that genuinely is all it takes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you want to stop after you started?
um there were definitely times where I would think about how bad it was going to be for me in the long term. But I think once I was seriously wanting to stop, I was able to stop. I don't use nicotine at all anymore. But yeah, it was I when I was vaping a lot, I don't think I did want to stop. I don't think that was ever something that was on my mind.
Were you worried about like the possible health problems?
No, I think that was when I stopped, was when I actually started to worry about them in to a serious degree, or when I got more worried about it, I guess. But for like a year and a half or maybe 2 years, I vaped a lot and I smoked the occasional cigarette. And I just had a general disregard for my health at the time. I was doing like I was partying a lot at that house that I lived in, and I was drinking a lot in association with the partying and consuming nicotine all the time and vaping all the time. And I don't really know why. Maybe I was just young and stupid and surrounded by other people who were the same way, but I just had a general disregard for like my physical well-being in at the time.
Um, and again, I think the most important question here is, what was your favorite brand of cigarette?
um, Turkish Royals, although
Ooh.
a good Camel Crush at the right time. There's
What
a
about
time
the
and a
American
place.
Spirits?
I was going to say, I've heard American Spirits.
American Spirit Teals.
Yeah, one of my housemates always had a pack of Teals.
That was the go-to down in Portland. Everybody had a pack of American Spirits down there.
Marlboro Reds.
Oh yeah, that's for a serious smoker right there.
Yeah.
I think my grandma and these boys touched on a plainly obvious but deceptively devilish aspect of nicotine, which is the addiction. Nicotine is a chemical your body becomes dependent on. It just doesn't matter what you do, your brain craves it, especially when it introduced to it consistently. And addiction is a miserable, embarrassing, hideous thing. I've lost good people to it. Admitting you have a problem is brutal. It's painful, and it requires introspection that is hard to have when you're so young. But admittance is only the first step. Ultimately, most of us need to find the strength from within ourselves to stop, but formulating that strength without support makes the journey to recovery considerably more difficult. Asking for that help, relying on your friends, reaching out, allowing your pain, your issues to be known, embraced, and loved is a theme I think Jet and I keep touching on this year. Sometimes that theme presents as lamentation, but today I want to take a moment to discuss how these fine gentlemen managed to stop and what they think helped, and maybe offer some advice or express their experiences to hopefully help anyone who's listening that might need that. So we have an open mic the rest of the episode. We'll start with Dylan. How did you stop? Because you went, I think you went the hardest. So
Um. Well, I'll start with why. I found someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I am now
all right,
married
Jet,
to
you're up
that
next.
someone.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I just didn't want to, like, I never hid it from her when we were first starting dating. But the more and more that we went into the relationship, I just never did it around her. And so I find out that she assumes that I stopped a long time ago.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I was still
Brutal.
doing it just because, like, I don't know, it's like sneezing. You turn away from someone when you're going to sneeze. So it was kind of, or like coughing or something. I just never did it around her. And so, yeah, she found out about it again, and we had a large argument, and that was initially why I decided to stop.
Yeah, I
that'll
mean
do it.
that's good.
Yeah. So, and then obviously the health stuff that was her main point, and that was something that I had been taking for granted a lot because I had switched from like vaping to the Zins,
Yeah.
which they're so easy to just hide, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
You put it in, as long as you're not like,
Sure.
you know,
You throw in a little lower decker.
yeah.
No one's the
So,
wiser.
tape
Sure.
them in your foreskin.
Yep.
But
For sure,
yeah.
man.
Everyone glad we had Dylan on.
But yeah, that was my main reason for wanting to stop.
Sure. Jet?
I think when I was vaping, it was like addiction's a factor, like you said. Like I just got addicted to it for a while,
Mhm.
and I was fortunate enough to be able to stop before it got like really, really bad, I think. But during that time, it was easier to just be like, oh, I don't care what's going to happen to me in 30 years than it was to be like, oh, I got myself a serious addiction on my hands.
Yeah.
You know, it's but I think why I quit was that the the worry at the back of my mind eventually forced itself to the front of my mind, and I genuinely started to be more worried about the health effects and realized that if I could do something about it, that I should probably give it a go. And as far as how I quit, I think accountability was like the biggest thing that helped me, because me and my partner were basically vaping for the same period of time. Like we both started around the same time and both stopped at around the same time. And it was like having an accountability buddy, because we both were going to stop together. And I know that's not like a novel tactic to stop smoking or vaping, but I found it really useful personally.
Sure.
Uh, in my situation, she wasn't 21 at the time that we decided to stop, and I was 21. So I was the only one who was able to buy them. So she's told
How
me
old was
that
she, buddy? Sorry.
we're not,
Go ahead.
I don't have time for that.
Fair enough.
And like she's told me that just like not having one around all the time made it pretty easy for her, because I was the one who had to go buy them. So it was like my job to stop buying nicotine, and then it would never be around, and then we could just quit together. And it worked for us, you know? I know it's like more difficult for people who have been on it for longer, and it's just a
Yeah.
difficult fucking thing to do in general. You can't really blame somebody for like trying to stop and relapse, because addiction is fucking addiction.
Yeah, I mean, always in recovery to an extent.
I think about it a ton.
I was about to ask if you guys still crave it.
Yes. I and it doesn't help that I get drunk and I have a cigarette, or someone offers me a Zin at a party. I'll pop it in. So I'm kind of like,
You could say no to those things.
I could, but this is part of it. It's like it's like a cheat day. I get to have this as a reward for not doing it in other parts of my life, is kind of how I justify that. But it kind of just keeps reminding me how honestly good it feels. Mm-hmm. And so I think about it an unfortunate amount.
It was hard just for me in general to like watch you, Dylan, and then Jet to like start doing nicotine considerably, like more than once every once in a while or once at a party, because I was like, dog, my friends are gonna die young and horrible because they're doing nicotine products, and Dylan, you have asthma. You shouldn't be inhaling shit.
Yeah, that's why I don't smoke weed.
Yeah, it's like not good. And in general, I don't know. I I think my support can be a little bit aggressive. I definitely bullied you guys a lot for smoking. I don't know if that was helpful ultimately in the long run. But I don't know. I was trying because that cross support is important. Like Jet said, like I wanted you guys to know that I cared about you and I cared about your health and I cared about the longevity and being able to make sure like uh, I didn't have to go to funerals early. Like I wanted to make sure my friends lived long and healthy. I don't know. Was that at all helpful? I think I owe you guys both like $100, right?
Technically, no.
Yeah.
I definitely had a cigarette or two before I got the. You promised me that if I passed a specific test
Oh, right.
without consuming any nicotine, that you would give me $100, and I definitely did a couple times in that space.
Yeah. You don't owe me $100 either.
You can keep your $200.
Yeah, I was there for your wedding, man. I know you weren't not doing nicotine.
Yeah. And then a couple friends' weddings.
There won't be any nicotine at my wedding. There won't be a wedding.
Cool.
So, no, I also want to say that I'm so fucking proud of you guys. And if you're struggling with addiction in your own way, people will be proud of you. Like, it's not easy. Unfortunately, it's so shameful. Like, I know how it can feel to admit that, like, yeah, I'm addicted to a substance.
Yeah,
that's something you've expressed to me, Dylan.
You want to hide it. You really do.
And that sucks. It can't feel good. Like, but not siloing yourself is so important, especially with situations like this, because reclusing and burying it down only makes it worse, really. And it's something you have to actively fight against to accept that support from others, and it's uncomfortable. But like, I'm proud of you guys, and I'm sure you're proud of yourselves. And I know that like you can still relapse every once in a while, and that's just how it is. But in general, like you're not spending like fucking $100 a week on nicotine product, and your gums aren't gonna like rot out of your skull, and it's awesome. So like, it's really cool that you don't have to experience that.
God, I hope not.
You guys have anything else you want to say?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah,
I've said enough.
I don't know, man. If you wanna stop something that you think you might be addicted to, especially smoking, just stop. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Just stop going to gas stations.
Like Steven said, don't silo yourself. Just mention it to somebody. Even just tell them what's on your mind about it. You don't even have to say, hey, I want to stop right away. It's lots of people are going to be eager to help and like proud of you if you get to the other side of it. So.
At the end of the day, you're accountable to yourself. I mean, that's the end of it. So like, you just need to make sure that you're going to be accountable to you. And for the love of God, do not pick up a jewel pod off the fucking sidewalk.
It was a whole jewel.
My bad, a whole jewel, pod and stick included.
Yeah.
And go. It's not just for old time's sake.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Dylan, would you like to say see ya?
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for having me on. Steve and Jet, it's been a pleasure. And anytime that you want to talk about nicotine, I'm here for you.
Your cough is the loudest in the intro. What a sign off.
I can give you another cough if you want right now.
All right, see ya. Three, 2, 1. It'll work.
It always does.
It always does.
That's the worst clap I've done in years.
It'll be fine.
We're never gonna be able to find it.
We'll never figure it out. The audio won't peak. It's not possible.
No,